Yeah, how's it going today? Hope you're loving life, enjoying the Easter weekend. It's warming up here in Ontario, Canada, enough so I can get outside and finally use the cement mixer to mix up my soil for my indoor mix. And yeah, it's loving life here. It's finally time I can get outside. Weather's warming up. I can start using the cement mixer to start mixing up my batches. Today I'm just going to be doing a 10-gallon batch, so you can basically, it's easy math, right, on all the ratios. I'm going to be trying out a few amendments from the Foxboro Living Soil. It's a local company that has far better quality than the Gaia Green. It's a lot cheaper and it's way closer and locally sourced to me. So we're using a bunch of that stuff as well. I have some Gaia Green things that I'm going to be using up now that I'm switched to this Foxboro Living Soil. The only thing that they can't get from Gaia is the bat guano. They call it this now. So, but besides that, this is what I'll be using. You don't need any of this shit, to be honest. If you just have something like the Sphagnum peat moss and something like the worm castings here, it's that maybe with some of the 2-row. I like the 2-row malted barley and stuff like that. So honest to God, you don't need all the crab meal, alfalfa, neem meal, all that stuff, although it helps a ton if you want to make your soil better. But again, this is just what I use and the ratios I use to make the soil. And if you don't have any of this or able to get any of that, don't worry. This year I'll be showing how to make all your own fertilizers and everything. And again, all you would need for outdoor, say, and even maybe indoor, would be some good compost, some sphagnum peat moss, and some worm castings. And you'll be good to go. And some aeration. You're going to need something like the hydrocorn or the rice hulls, or even if you're just using like pea gravel from around home. But I'll show you all the stuff I'm going to be using just really quickly, and then kind of the ratios, I guess. Really quickly, there will be crab meal, neem meal, cakes, alfalfa meal, kelp meal. This is beneficial. It's a soil activator. It's what I use to water in all these things. It kind of starts kicking in all these amendments quicker. I will be using some bentonite clay. I know people have issues with it. A glacial rock dust. Some yucca. I won't be using the fishbone meal for the indoor stuff. The life cycle of indoor plants isn't really long enough. I do use that outdoors, so I have some along. Same with the feather meal. I just threw some down now. I wanted to do it about a month or two before the plants go in. I lay both of this stuff down and let it work in because it is a little hot. That's why I don't mix it in there. Key thing, the rock dust blend that Foxboro Living Soil makes. It's a combination of basalt, wollastonite, volcanic rock dust, oyster, it's like the oyster shell meal, powder, whatever, and soft rock phosphate, and the organic 2-row malted barley, the whole grains, non-GMO, rice hulls. You can see this is a lot of stuff. You don't really need any of that, remember, just the worm castings and sphagnum. I'll have legbanite, which I don't use outdoors. I'll talk on that either. This is just silica powder, recycle sil. I got some boogie frass, insect frass to use up. What else is in here? Carbon complex to use up. I just use the fulvic acid now from BioEgg. It's a lot, the humic acid from BioEgg. It's the same stuff. Well, it's a lot better actually. A little bit of dolomite lime. I don't really need that. Some rock phosphate. And like I said, the only thing I can't get from Foxboro Living Soil is the bat guano. So along with, see, this can get into a big thing. This is a bag of worm castings that I collected. You don't really need the perlite, but I'm going to be using it. Hydrocorn. This is all part of your aeration, which you want to be about 25-30%. More of the aeration will be rice hulls. And some of the barley acts as aeration, but it will break down. Same with the rice hulls. Sphagnum peat moss. And the difference between sphagnum peat moss and just peat moss. The best example or explanation I heard was from Jim Bennett from Clackamas-Coot, otherwise known as. And he's basically saying the Canadian sphagnum is basically like the buds and colas of your plant, and just peat moss that's not sphagnum. It's like floor sweepings, and it's like the shake. So heads up, if you're going to use it, use sphagnum. I'm in Canada, I can't get peat moss, and I don't like using cocoa for my organic stuff. So for that, again, yeah, cement mixer, you don't need it. I've used the kiddie pools, the, what do you call them, just a tarp too. Got this thing here all cleaned out, ready to go. UV sterilized, washed and cleaned. And this might be a bit of a long video. And pretty much, yeah, so the ratios for all this stuff. Basically, I already have them out. Pretty much all the meals, except for like rock dust, but like the kelp meal, alfalfa, crab, neem, all those are a 1/4 cup for 10 gallons, okay? You can use up to half cups, but 1/4 cup, because I top dress often foliar, it's really not needed. The alfalfa meal, you could do a half cup just because, you know, it's whatever. I have the bentonite clay, there's a cup of that. The glacial rock dust, a cup of that. What else? I think that's actually the glacial. That's the rock dust blend I explained in the other one. There will be some yucca and some soil activator get thrown in, but basically, and the biochar, big bag leftover biochar. So I'll see here if I can put this up, and I'll try to mix it. Hopefully the mixer's not too loud, but I'll figure it out here. I'm just trying to get this open. Oh Lord. Easy. Anyways, there we go. So the biochar, see how nice and shiny. I'll show you how to make some of this too, but it's got a nice little noise to it. So let me see what I can do here. Move some of this shit out of the way so I can at least get in there, and I'll try to make up a batch here for you. I'm sorry if this mixer gets a little noisy, and I hope this thing lines up because I can't see where it's pointing, and I can't edit this shit. So hopefully this is pointing at the doodad here. And yeah, so we're going to be doing a 10-gallon mix. And when you're using all this rock dust and things, always use a dust mask. Don't be a hero, put a dust mask on. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing right now, but I'm taking this sphagnum peat moss and I'm filling a 5-gallon bucket. Again, sphagnum peat moss, 5-gallon bucket. So 5-gallon buckets in there. I'll use 2 gallons, or 1 gallon of the hydrocorn. Yeah, 1 gallon of the hydrocorn. Normally I'd have this all mixing. I don't know if it'll be too loud. I might try it. Yeah, it might be getting a little loud. I'll just throw that shit at the end. I'll just turn it all on. But normally it's all mixing at the same time. So 1 gallon of the hydrocorn. 1 gallon of the rice hulls. I'm going to put half a gallon of this perlite, even though you don't need it, but some people just seem to want it. I don't know why, but it's for indoor anyway, so that's in there. We got our worm castings. And we'll use 2 gallons of worm castings. Okay? Here, I'll just dump this in. It takes too long. Normally you just eyeball it up, but you can measure it out. 2 gallons of worm castings. Hope you're not looking at my ass crack or something like that, but 2 gallons of worm castings. I said if you just had peat moss, worm castings, compost, and some sort of do the Jim Bennett Cannabis Coop mix, just a 30% peat, 30% castings, 30% aeration. Whatever you want to use. I'm going to put 2 cups of the biochar in. And then 1/4 cup of langbonite. Again, this would all be mixing. This is just a teaspoon of the humic acid. We've got our rock dusts. Put a cup of each rock dust, so maybe 2 cups total of rock dust in your mix. Remember, we're a dust mask. That rock dust is definitely killer. Soil activator, 1/4 cup. Yucca, 1/4 cup. You can use more, but this is a light mix for top dressing. Kelp meal, 1/4 cup. Alfalfa meal, a little more than a 1/4 cup. The neem meal cakes. If you want to turn this into just neem meal, you can put it in a blender and it'll dust it up just like a normal neem meal. They're just compressed into cakes. You can't add more of that. 1/4 cup of crab meal. Forget what I have here, but I showed all the ingredients before. You can put a cup or 2 of the 2 Row Malted Barley. I'm putting 2 cups in the 10-gallon mix, remember? And I have some rice hulls left over. So, that's basically everything. Stay away from that dust. But you get the point, and I can mix all this in about, well, that's quick and that's talking. If I just go like boom, 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 throw it in, you're making 10 gallons in easily 5 minutes. Let's do that for now. But that's just a light mix, and now if you want to, you just keep mixing it and mixing it and mixing it and mixing it, either by hand or in a pool, whatever you want to do. And if you're going to store it for later, I don't add any water to the mix. I'll just bag that up or put it in a drum. If you want to use it where you're going to transplant, and then you're going to water in the plant, say you're going from a 1 gallon to a 5 gallon, I would throw in 1 gallon of water, and I'd mix 1/2 cup of the soil activator. But if you don't have that, aloe water, compost extract, or just straight water. But 1 gallon of water for 10 gallons of soil, and then that'll be good enough where it soaks up some water. You can fill the bags, transplant, and water it in. Now if you have something smaller, like you're transplanting from a solo cup to a 1 gallon, and you want the soil to be a little wetter in there, you can put like 2 gallons or up to maybe 3 gallons. Like you can test it and squeeze it and see if water comes out. You don't want anything in your soil mix, but that will be like already pre-watered. At 2.5, 3 gallons is pre-watered. You'll put in a dry clone, you won't have to add any water. But the way I'll do it like this, I'll just mix it up, leave it dry, bag it. When I need it, I'll throw it back in here, mix in 1 gallon of water, have it all remix, fill the pots and stuff, and then I'll water it in once I transplant. So I hope this helps a little bit. I know it's a little vague and I didn't really show much on the amendments, but if there's anything people would like to know more about, leave a comment, a question, or anything like that, and I'll be happy to answer everybody. I only log in about once a week, so I will answer everybody, but it does take a while. So yeah, I hope you get an idea of this is the soil mix I use, and the amendments at the ratios I use for indoor. Outdoor might have